This is the future.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, Sigvaldo Green here, and Dark Knight Soul Raids is almost over for the first roll that we got since its release, and I think it's time to talk about how good was the Soul Raid and how does it rank compared to the other Soul Raids that we got so far. Keep in mind that this is just my personal opinion. If you get another one, that's definitely fine, let me know down in the comments. And getting into this video, we will kind of follow a format where we ask what do we expect from a good Soul Raid and try to pinpoint if this Soul Raid accomplished those things. So all being said, if you enjoyed the video, make sure you comment and like to help the video in the algorithm, and let's get into it. So, we want challenging and hard bosses, but not challenging and hard bosses in a dumb way. So by hard in a dumb way, I mean in Advent of Chaos Boss Raven. Boss Raven is not going to be one of the hardest bosses in the game to fight. If you're able to combo interrupt, this is actually going to be one of the easiest bosses to fight. But she will take a long ass time to kill because of all her resistances that are going to simply make her a damage sponge and will make some certain teams simply not have access to their main mechanics, like the lethal attack damage of the Batman Ninja team. So a design like that is something that we don't want because it doesn't reward good gameplay, you're just hitting at a brick wall. So did Dark Knights accomplish this? Yes. None of the bosses are going to have dump resistances. There is some stun resistances here and there is some lethal resistances here and there, but there is no immunity to lethal or crit anywhere, and the lethal and stunner resistances are going to be quite rare. So overall, I think all the bosses are fair in that regard, and they are not restrictive in that kind of a dumb way. Now, getting back to the challenging and hard bosses, what do I mean by a challenging boss now? We've established what a hard boss in a dumb way is. What is a hard boss in a good way? As a hard boss in a challenging way, I'm looking at Boss Darkseid and Dawn of Apocalypse. The first time you're going to fight Boss Darkseid, he's most likely going to beat your ass real good. But he's the kind of boss that with improved gameplay and as you get better at the game, he will get more and more easy. It's a boss that has some mechanics in place that will reward you for understanding the game better, understanding the fight better, and doing the right things. If you're going to do that, then you're going to have a far easier time. That's what I understand by challenging bosses. And we do have some extent of that. We have Sorcerer Dr. Fate, who disables your special 2, which is not like the greatest thing, but he's also going to increase the tagging cooldown, and his special 2 is going to draw you in like a vortex kind of thing. And even though I got frustrated by fighting him, I kind of at the same time enjoyed fighting him. We got Boss Blue Beetle, who's gonna have kind of a scarab that deals dot damage and doesn't allow you to build combo warrior in it, so that's another attempt. Not really a success with Boss Blue Beetle, but an attempt to make him challenging through mechanics. We got Boss Batman Who Laughs, who's gonna have drop some toxins on the ground, and if you don't sit on the toxins, you're gonna be fine, but if you sit on them for too long, he's going to take control of your character. We got Boss Atrocitus, who's... oh boy. You will be a challenging one to fight, but there are ways to get around it. There are ways to build your team, to set your characters. There are ways to properly adjust your gameplay to have a better time there. And there's Boss Harley, who's honestly kinda lame, but at the same time she's quite challenging. She doesn't have something that makes her quite challenging that was introduced for this story specifically. It's just her character in general being quite a challenge to fight when it's Suicide Squad Harley Quinn. But yeah, overall I think they did a decent job at making the bosses challenging, and they did a very good job at not making any boss hard in a dumb way. Next up, we're going to talk about beginner-friendly bosses, and I'm not referring necessarily to gameplay, because look, you eventually have to learn the game properly, and your goal should be to strive to get better and better, and to overcome bigger and bigger challenges. Bosses being mechanically difficult is not gonna be hard, but what I mean free-to-play friendly, or beginner-friendly, is going to be bosses that pretty much can be killed with Kil'Flagon Sakumen, because we had kind of an instance in Rise of Krypton where we had Boss Justice League Aquaman, and Boss Justice League Aquaman was disabling your special 2 and special 3, I mean not disabling them, but actually making them deal no damage. And if you had the Black Manta team, the Heartbreak Harley Quinn League of Anarchy team, or the Batman Ninja team, he was easy enough to beat, he was not a struggle, but for the new players who only had the Kil'Flagon Sakumen at their disposal, that boss was a nightmare. And good news, every single boss in Dark Knight Soul Raids is going to be beaten with the Qinflán Sacrament alone. You might take a longer time with some bosses, you might take a shorter time with some bosses, but with patience, every single boss is killable, only having at your disposal the Qinflán Sacrament that everybody can acquire from the League Store. So I definitely do like that. Next up, no pay-to-win artifacts for better progression. Look, first of all, having artifacts in general will heavily boost your progress, and the fact that there is no artifact chest at the moment, it's a very dumb idea, it's a very pay-to-win idea, but that is not the topic of this video, and that's a problem that's with artifacts in this game in general and not for the Soul Raid specifically. So what I rather mean by this is bosses that are going to put you at a huge disadvantage if you don't have a specific artifact that's going to make that fight far easier. For example, against Collector vs Superman Rise of Krypton, having the LexCorp Warsuit, because if you don't have LexCorp Warsuit against Superman Rise of Krypton, your Batman Ninja team and Black Manta team are going to be straight up rendered useless. And as for Somewhere, there is no situation like that over here. As I said, paying money and getting artifacts is gonna make it a whole lot easier for you. But at the same time, I didn't find any situation, and I did get artifacts on the main account, but on a secondary account, I didn't buy artifacts. And on a secondary account, I did not fight, even though I progressed lower, obviously, I did not find any fight where I felt like, oh, if I had this artifact that I have on the other account where I paid money, I would have had a far more enjoyable time here. Next point that I want to make is, does it have a good free artifact? Because for most people, the only artifact that they're going to get from this huge pool of artifacts, the Dark Metal artifacts that we got over here, is going to be the free artifact. And boy, oh boy, this is the best free Soul Raid artifact. It's better than Fatherbox in raids and Soul Raids. Fatherbox might be still better in Arena Champions Arena, though there's a discussion to be had about that too, and it is far better than Godkiller, and we're not even gonna include the Kryptonite Spear and the Chakra in this discussion at all, but I think the Dark Metal cards are going to be by far the best free artifact that everybody's gonna get, and I get the feeling that as you level this up, I mean, it's already a lot useful in Soul Raids because you can use it on a support character, and I get the vibe that this artifact has potential to be useful in a lot of places as you level it up, so the free artifact is by far the best one we get so far. Next up, is that a good artifact poll that we got, like all the artifacts introduced? And look, this is going to be more or less a pay-to-win point, since unless you get crazy luck, you're not gonna get to play with those artifacts unless you spend money, and that's the reality of it, I'm not gonna deny it, but at the same time, there's a lot of people who pay money to get those artifacts and are watching this video, and that point is fair to be made for them too. So the Dark Metal artifacts are good for the most part. I think overall they are the best batch of artifacts that we've ever gotten in Just Mobile. There are some filler artifacts, which sucks, but we've had filler artifacts with pretty much every single artifact set except for the Dawn of Apocalypse one. But with this one, it feels like even with the filler artifacts that we got, they did somewhat of a bigger effort to try to introduce interesting mechanics with them. So you're going to get that crappy artifact and you're gonna be like, well, this is going to be crap, I'm going to shatter this. But I'm gonna play around with it a bit, because it looks like it has kind of an interesting mechanic that could be fun to use. Useful to use, no, but fun to use, yes. And the artifacts that are going to be the good ones, oh boy, they're really good. Though very buggy, some of them are very buggy. The game just poops itself when you use some of those new artifacts, that's a thing worth mentioning. But yeah, moving on. So, the free legendary. This is unfair to Rise of Krypton and Dawn of Apocalypse, because they don't have a free legendary chance to get when you finish it. And at the same time, it's not gonna be relevant for everybody. For example, myself, I have never ever gotten a legendary character for free from the Soul Raid rewards. That's just not a thing for me, and there might be some of you in the audience as well that are experiencing that. But the legendary that you have a chance to get is going to be Batman Who Laughs, and he's a very good character. So that is a good thing. Next point that I want to make, does it have easy bosses in the first and second tiers? So the first and second tiers of a Soul Raid is where a new player just got into the game, just unlocked Soul Raids, it might be in a league, might be trying to get Qinflán Sacrament, but will not have him for some time. And that is why the first and second tier of a Soul Raid need to be easy, so the new players don't have a frustrating experience with it. So yeah, I think it did this well enough. I don't think you're going to have in the first and second tier any problems for the most part if you don't have Kim Flan Sakumen. So that's good. Now we're going to get into the bad sides too, and look, there's only 2 bad sides that I was able to identify. First up, it's the old AI for bosses in normal difficulty. I don't think it was this way for every Soul Raid, but it seems to be like this with the newest one, with what was the last contract and the Dark Knights right now. And that's dumb. Why do you have a different AI for normal mode and then you have the actual AI that's in the rest of the game for the previous mode? Put the new AI everywhere, because that is the AI that everybody's going to play for the most part. And if you put the old AI normal, a lot of people are going to get confused, a lot of new players are going to get confused, because they're going to think that's how the AI of characters is going to function, that's how the game is usually going to function, and that's what they have to play around. So that's very dumb. I don't know why that's a thing. And yeah, the Dark Mail cards that you get for free, even though good, are going to be buggy as hell, at the very least for me. Not in terms of not working, but more like in terms of breaking the game when you use them and having weird glitches with the game. Okay, next up. The artifacts are also still paid to get, so that's also a downside, though, as I said, is not necessarily something related to this Soul Raid, but to Injustice Mobile in general. So overall, those were all the points that I had to make, and honestly, every single point and every single request that I had in the past and every single complaint I had in the past about the new Soul Raids that are introduced has been to some extent accomplished in this one. They didn't do everything perfectly, but they did everything kind of right. So how does this rank compared to the other Soul Raids that we got so far? It's gonna be better than Rise of Krypton and Advent of Chaos, easily. If you think Advent of Chaos and Rise of Krypton are better designed Soul Raids, you're objectively wrong, I'm sorry. I do not accept that opinion. I mean, look, I understand why for some people who spend a ton of money on the game, Rise of Krypton is gonna be easy and enjoyable. But that's not really a fair point, because a lot of people not have access to those resources. So in my opinion, it's inarguably better than Rise of Krypton and Advent of Chaos. Is it better than The Last Contract? Something that I noticed when I talked in the past about Dawn of Apocalypse being better than The Last Contract was the fact that some of you guys, quite a lot of you guys, value more if a Soul Raid is going to be easy. And for some of you it means if it's easy, it's better, because I'm going to get rewards faster. And while I do not necessarily agree with that point of view, that's a valid point of view that some people have. And if you're going to judge Soul Raids by that, it's gonna be simple. The Last Contract is going to be slightly easier than Dark Knight Soul Raids, and if that's the only thing you care about, then The Last Contract is better than Dark Knight Soul Raids, though not by much. It's not easier by much, and I personally think that The Last Contract is better. The Dark Knights is better than The Last Contract, but again, if you're going to say easiest equals best, then The Last Contract is going to be the best one. But I personally think the Dark Knight Soul Raid is gonna be the best one. Is it better than Dawn of Apocalypse? Both Dawn of Apocalypse and Dark Knight Soul Raids are very, very solid Soul Raids in my opinion. But why I think Dark Knight Soul Raid is going to be better than Dawn of Apocalypse is because I feel it strikes a better balance between being challenged and not too challenging, because Dawn of Apocalypse can be merciless at some points if you don't know how to really play the game properly. It really strikes a better balance between challenge and accessibility, and as we said previously, the free artifact that you're gonna get is going to be far better. So yeah, there you go, lads. Let me know in the comments what's your opinion, but in my opinion, Dark Knight Soul Raids is by far the best Soul Raid that we got so far. And with that being said, thanks so much for watching. Please still like and comment if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe for more content like this, and I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.
This is the future.